Hello, everyone. We are Coyote DFIR, and we're going to be covering volatility. My name is Ray Alvarado.
Oscar.
Miguel Marcial.
We're going to be covering volatility because, well, for me, I was trying to figure out how to use volatility, and I never got the chance to really dive into it. So we're going to try to explain it in the best possible way. So volatility is an open source software that can be used to analyze volatile memory within computer systems, and that's basically your RAM. So if you shut off your computer or you unplug it, all that data is gone. So you want to use, or you want to grab that data as fast as possible so that you can analyze it. And volatility uses plugins. There's a bunch of different options you can use, and we'll go over those a little bit later. To kick things off, we'll start with the installation, and we're going to be going over the 3 different OSs that you can install volatility on. And the first one we're going to start with is Windows with Oscar.
All right, so first and foremost, you're going to want to visit the Volatility website. If you just Google Volatility forensic tool, it'll be the first website. And then you're going to want to go up here to releases. We're doing the 2.6 release. So you're going to see all the releases right here under release December 2016. In this case, I'm using the Windows standalone, and the other 2 standalones are also in here for Mac and Linux. I've already downloaded it here, so all you'll have to do is extract it. You can extract it. Once it finishes extracting, you actually are going to want to move this folder out of the downloads folder, just because you're going to have to access the directory and you don't want to have to type a bunch of stuff.
Ooh.
Okay, and inside there, you're actually going to see just 5 text documents and the exe. The application actually doesn't run. There's no GUI, so you have to use a command prompt to actually run it. So if you go to your start menu, type CMD or command prompt, you'll pull up a command prompt, and I don't believe it has to have administrator rights. So once you have it open, now we're going to change our directory to the directory of your location where you just move your folder to. In this case, I put it on my local disk C, but again, you can put it wherever you want. And then you can type it out. But as I recently learned, you can actually just drag the directory in and it'll paste it in for you. Make sure you have the CD in the front for change directory. Once your directory's changed, this is when we can actually run the executable. But if you run the executable on its own, it's actually not going to do anything, just because we haven't given it a plugin command to actually run. So you'll see it come back with, you must try something. In this case, they want us to try -H. So if we run that plugin, you'll see it'll pull up a list of all the possible plugins that come with volatility.
It's a bunch.
So yeah, so here's the list. I think it's over 100 plugins that you can use, and we'll go over the syntax later on of how you're actually gonna apply these plugins to get output from the actual memory dump file. And the memory dump file, Ray's gonna go over how to get one of those. But for now, this is essentially how you'll run the program off of Windows. You have to type in remember, change the directory, type in the executable's name, and then you're gonna run the command as well. And you can actually change this name, so you don't have to type that out every time. See, I changed it to volatility right there. So I can just type volatility, and if you hit tab, it actually finishes it for you. And if I type -H, it'll still run the executable just like it did before. It's just easier shorthand. You see right here, printed everything out using volatility. So it's just an easier way to run it instead of having to type the whole program's name, but that's pretty much how you install and run it on Windows. So pass it over to Miguel so he can go over Linux.
All right, class. So as we know, you can install Volatility on several different operating systems. We just did Windows, and then now I'll be going over how do you install it on Linux. In this case, we'll be using Kali Linux. So first, you're going to want to go to the Volatility Foundation website so you can get the link to the source code because you're going to install it over to the terminal. To go here, get the link code, close this out, and then you want to open up the terminal. So once we open up the terminal, we're going to use the wget command, which is a command line utility used for downloading files from the internet. So I'm going to type it out. Wait, get it.
Hey, so Miguel, was this super hard to do on Kali?
On Kali, no, it was actually really simple, and I think like out of all the operating systems, this is probably the easiest way to install it, the easiest one, and it takes probably no more than like 10 minutes at tops. So right here, I use the command, I inserted the link, and as you can see, it downloaded. So then right after, we're going to check our directory by using the ls command. And we could see here that we already have it. So our next thing we're going to do is we're going to unzip it. So we're going to use the unzip command and type out the program. As we can see, it's unzipping and unzipped. You can see everything.
Beautiful.
All right, so then right after, we're going to check out the directory again. And we're going to see that we have the volatility master folder. And pretty much it's already there to install. It's already here. It's already installed, and if you want to start using it, all you have to do is just when you open up the terminal, just type out volatility and then the command and plugin you want to use right after that. So then that's that, and our next thing would be to explain how we're gonna install it on the Mac, and I'm gonna pass it over to Ray.
Wait, so I don't have a Mac. We don't have Macs. So I was trying to create a image for it, or no, find an image for it, and then go through it virtually. But because I needed an authorized image, it was a little hard to get it. So I just try to look for something to cater towards the Mac users, just in case you guys wanted to use it. Hopefully, I can get my hands on a Mac soon, and then maybe I might update this video. Well, we'll see. But first, of course, everything starts with the command line. So you want to go ahead and type terminal, and then enter this into the terminal app, and then it should go ahead and download and go to whatever directory you put it on, and then you run this to install volatility brew cask. I'm not completely sure if it'll work or not, but if anyone wants to tell me if it will, that'd be awesome. Actually use volatility. We're going to be trying to create something called a memory dump, and this is how you would basically get the volatile data from your target system, right? So today we're going to be using FTK Imager, and if you want to find out how to install that, that'll be in our document sheet. But you basically would register with Access Data. They would send you an email, and then from there they would give you a free installation of FTK Imager. But anyways, once it's installed, you'd want to put this onto a USB stick or an external hard drive of some sort so that if your target system is not your own system, but it is, say, evidence at a different location, then you can bring your FTK imager wherever you want. You could just plug and play. But anyways, to create the memory dump, you'd want to go to this part right here. It says capture memory. Go ahead and click that. The destination path should be something on your stick or your external hard drive. And then for me, it's like, whatever I want. Let's say fashion, right? So I'll put in there. And then I'll say okay. And then if you want the page file, which will include a bunch of other volatile information or data, go ahead and do that and you'll capture it. So for mine's 19 gigs. For others, it'll be 2 gigs, 3 gigs. But the larger it is, the more time it'll take for Volatility to actually analyze it. So I'm going to cancel that for now because it's going to take a long time. And then you can do it, you can capture data in 2 different ways. So you can do it physically through FTK Imager or virtually. And I'm gonna go ahead and swap over to my laptop. And then from here, we'll do it virtually. So if you don't know what virtualization is, it's basically taking an image of an OS, dropping into a VMware workstation or virtualization machine player type thing. So VirtualBox or VMware. And today I'm gonna be using VMware. And so you can see I have like 6 VMs, virtual machines, and it's Metasploitable, Kali Linux, Windows. But whenever you put a machine onto virtualization manager, and you create a snapshot, it creates this virtual memory file. And this is how I'm gonna show you how to get to it. So for example, let's say it's Windows 10, right? If you have this already installed, then you're ahead of the game. But if you want to know where to install VMware Player, this is a free virtualization manager. You can go ahead and download it. So you just download and go through the steps, create a file path, and so on and so forth. But I'm going to assume that you guys have VMware Workstation or VMware Player, and you already have a VM installed. So I'm going to go from here. So to find out where your VMs are, you go to Edit, Preferences, and then it shows right here. This is your default location for all the virtual machines. And then you would go to that Documents, and then this is your virtual machine. These are where all your virtual machine files are. And then you'd go to that virtual machine, and you would look for this file right here, the vmem, your virtual memory file. And then you would extract this and put it onto your USB stick or wherever you're going to be doing forensic analysis, and then that's where you'd go. And then we're going to pass over on how to use Volatility and the syntax and the plugins, and we're going to start off with Oscar yet again.
So again, that was how to create a memdump file. But you can also, Volatility's GitHub site actually has some samples already created. In this case, I'll be using the malware Crydex. You just click it, download it. It'll come up. Once you extract it, you'll get this folder with this file in here. And then you want to move it over to the same location that you have your volatility folder, just to make it easier to path it out. And you're going to want to paste it in there. And then we would just, so I'll talk about the syntax here. There's a couple syntax. The initial plugin command that you're going to use is going to be essentially volatility. So you'll type out the executable's name. It's going to be followed by -f, which essentially just means what is the name of the file. And then you're going to type in the name of the file, which in this case is crydex.vmm. And this is the first syntax. So this will allow you to run some of these. Mainly this syntax is used for this command here called image info. So we type in image info, which is the plugin name, and it's going to return, essentially it gives you the description of what it's going to give you back in the help menu. So this help menu actually helps out a lot. It's going to pull it up. So it's going to identify the information for the image. It's going to give you the profile of the image, which you can see is right here, and a bunch of other layers and information that you may need later on. But mainly we're trying to get the profile out right here because we need the profile for the next syntax, which should hopefully pop up here soon if this finishes.
And could you see how big the crydex.vm file is, or vmem file is?
Over here, it's
Yeah.
524 MB.
Yeah. So that isn't that big for
You're right. Yeah.
right. But the larger it is, the longer it's gonna take.
Right.
So like this was probably 10, 15 seconds, maybe. But if it's like imagine getting a vmem file of a terabyte or 500 gigs, that would take probably 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending on how big it is. So sometimes this is a long, laborious process, and you're gonna want to either cut up your vmems or your mem files, or find another way to drop down that size, because these things can be killers on time if you don't have the processing speed, you know.
I
I'm
think
just gonna
probably most of the time they're time consumers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and cancel out
Yeah.
this. It's taking a little long.
Yeah, no, you're good.
And then, so you're gonna keep this first part for the next syntax, and then you're gonna include -- profile, and depending on which memory dump you're scanning, you're gonna input your profile. In this case, I know it's actually WinX PSP2 x86, and I've actually tried this one out too. It'll work the exact same way. It's just giving you a specification of which might work or not. So you type -- profile equals, and then the profile name, XPSP. And then lastly, you're gonna type in the plugin that you're gonna use. In this case, I'll do PS tree, which, if you see here, prints a process list.
Oh, wait, hold up. And then before you
as a
press
tree.
enter, after WinX, yeah, that X isn't capitalized.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the, like, a lot of this stuff is case sensitive, so you want to be careful just in case.
Definitely.
Mhm.
And I actually don't know if this is gonna run all the way through. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. Oh, yeah, there it goes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So right here, this is a list of all the processes that were captured inside of the actual RAM when these processes were running when the memory dump was captured, essentially. So you could see the PPID, the PID, the time that it was running, and this is essentially what volatility is being able to actually see what was inside of this RAM at the time that you captured the memory. And this is just one plugin.
Yeah, like it's super useful because say, like, you could even use this on your own machine, right? So say it's not your machine is like 2 gigs, and you just want to see what's running, and you look at all this and you say, oh, hey, okay, SVC host, okay, that's probably a Microsoft thing. And then you keep going down and you see a really weird program. You're like, what is that? And you figure out and you find out that it's like some Trojan or something that's sapping away a lot of your RAM, or something's happening. And like you can use a lot of volatility to figure out what the heck is happening on your computer.
Yeah, mostly in the RAM.
Mm-hmm.
They also have like malfind, which actually finds like malicious code inside of your RAM module. But so this is the syntax that you'll mostly be using is the name of the executable -f, the name of the memory dump, and then the profile name, and lastly the plugin command name.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it for Windows and I think we'll talk about a couple other plugins that are important in a bit. But I'll pass it off to Miguel to talk about Kali.
So there's a huge list of different plugins that can be used, and we've seen just how it's entered on a window. So now let's see how you do it on Kali. So on Kali, the way to get into volatility is just by typing it out, and that's just like the start of it. And whenever you're gonna type in command, always include volatility in there with it. In this case, we decided to use the Critus file, so I'm going to use that too again. And Oscar earlier used image info, and he used PS3. I'll use like PX View, which is another plugin used to list any processes that might be trying to hide themselves, which is something really good to be used for malware analysis. So it'll be volatility, and then you want to specify the file and then the location to it. And then we want to specify the profile. Oscar showed us which profile we're going to use earlier. We're going to use the same one. So it's profile equals, and then when. And then the plugin that I'm going to use is going to be PSX View.
So the syntax between Linux and Windows, there's no difference.
They're almost fairly similar, except for just a few things.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as we type it in, we'll just wait for the results. And if we were to find if volatility was to find any hidden processes, they would show up right here in either the PS list or the PS scan, and they would show up as false. Other commands that you could use could be like sockets, which could be used to just to pull, which can be used to like check in like running sockets on the computer. So let's backtrack, and then we'll use the plugin sockets instead. And we'll wait it out. And this will print out a list of all open sockets on the memory we're analyzing, as we can see here. We could also, another great plugin that could be used on here is CMD line, which will be used to display processes on the command line. So this will give you information on the last commands that were ran on the computer. So we'll go back, and then we'll use instead of sockets, we'll switch it out and we'll use CMD line. And like I said, this will give you information on the last commands that were ran on the computer. As we could see, there were quite a few things. Other commands we could use could be like conscan, which is it could be used as a pull scanner for TCP connections. And the syntax is pretty simple. Like it's all going to be the same, basically, except for the change of plugin.
Yeah. So for a Linux machine, you don't have to put Linux in front. You can just
No,
put in
not at
the.
all.
Okay, awesome.
Just volatility, the file, the location to the file,
Mm.
the profile that's going to be used, and then the plugin. And it's fairly simple. Are there any plugins you guys would like to cover?
I think we're good.
There's also connections specifically for this one, because this is a XP and 2003 image. I think some of the network plugins might not work. But for this profile specifically, connections will give you a list of the open connections. But again, that plugin connections will only work for 2003 and Windows XP, Windows 2003 XP. So,
You guys have any final thoughts?
um,
It's a
I
great tool for
yeah
forensic investigation and even later for malware analysis.
yeah, I
Uh,
was really impressed. I never used the tool before this, so I
yeah.
was like, man, this is really cool. And there's
Mhm.
so much you can actually look through,
Mhm.
um, in just the memory alone.
Yeah, like
It's not your typical easy to use program with you have your GUI, but it's still very very useful and it's actually pretty not that bad, pretty fun to use in a
mhm.
way.
Yeah, like right when you look at it, and you try to play around with it at first, you're just like, man, what do I do?
Yeah.
You're like, what is this? But once you figure out the syntax uh, and how to get your memory dumps, what to do, it's fairly simple. It's super easy to just play around with. Um, I mean, I had my difficulties with it a while back, but now that we've kind of gone over it and really went through everything, super easy.
Yeah. I think one
Yeah.
thing we didn't mention yet is so it comes with the default plugins, but you can actually add more plugins from
Hmm.
third party
Yep.
creators.
Yeah.
So you're not or you could write it yourself in Python. The whole open source software is actually built on Python. So
Yeah. Like there's something called the Yara scan volatility right here, and I was trying to figure out how to do this before, but you basically write a script for it, and it'll cross-reference a bunch of signatures for different, I think, malware code, and then it'll figure out what to do and like if it's there. So like if it'll look through your hex, it'll see if there's something wrong with it. Um, yeah, like with volatility, just there's just so many different things you can do with it, and like we
Mhm.
haven't even scratched the surface.
yeah.
Yeah,
We covered just a few plugins, and like Oscar said earlier, there's more than 100.
yeah,
So the
yeah. So
possibilities are pretty crazy.
yeah, so if you want to make it a simple tool, and you just want to see the processes on startup or just processes before the memory was or like the system was shut off, then go for it. But the possibilities are endless. Yeah. Yeah,
All right.
so yeah, okay, awesome. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you enjoyed our video. And I hope you guys try out volatility. Thank you so much. We were Coyote DFIR. My name is Ray Alvarado.
Oscar.
I'm Miguel Marcial, and thanks again, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys.